पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
ब्रह्ममुरारिसुरार्चितलिङ्गं निर्मलभासित शोभितलिङ्गम् जन्मजदुःखविनाशकलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः।
ॐ नमः शिवाय हर ॐ नमः शिवाय।
देवमुनिप्रवरार्चितलिङ्गं कामदहं करुणाकरलिङ्गम् रावणदर्पविनाशनलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः।
ॐ नमः शिवाय हर ॐ नमः शिवाय।
सर्वसुगन्धिसुलेपितलिङ्गं बुद्धिविवर्धनकारणलिङ्गम् सिद्धसुरासुरवन्दितलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः।
ॐ नमः शिवाय हर ॐ नमः शिवाय।
कनकमहामणिभूषितलिङ्गं पाणिपतिवेष्टित शोभितलिङ्गम् दक्षसूयज्ञविनाशनलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः।
ॐ नमः शिवाय हर ॐ नमः शिवाय।
चन्दनलेपितलिङ्गं पङ्कजहार सुशोभितलिङ्गम् सञ्चितपापविनाशनलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः।
ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ हर ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ
देवगणार्चितसेवितलिङ्गं भावैर्भक्तिभिरेव च लिङ्गम्। दिनकरकोटिप्रभाकरलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः।
ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ हर ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ
अष्टदलोपरिवेष्टितलिङ्गं सर्वसमुद्भवकारणलिङ्गम्। अष्टदरिद्रविनाशकलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः।
ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ हर ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ
सुरगुरुसुरवरपूजितलिङ्गं सुरवनपुष्पसदार्चितलिङ्गम्। परात्परं परमात्मकलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः।
ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ हर ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ
ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः। लिङ्गाष्टकम् इदं पुण्यं यः पठेत् शिवसन्निधौ शिवलोकमवाप्नोति शिवेन सह मोदते।
Sai Ram. Turning the pages and adding new words, on behalf of Team Sri Satya Sai Anugrahams, Mumbai Metropolitan Region Youth, I cordially welcome you all to the 5th session of online knowledge sharing sessions with Sri Satya Sai Anugraham team. Today's topic is Lingashtakam, and we have Brother Siddharth Kasturi Rangan with us. Siddharth Kasturi Rangan is currently working as an assistant professor in the Department of Physics with University of Mumbai. He is actively engaged in research in the field of atomic and molecular physics and has authored and co-authored several research papers in the field. He has been learning Veda since the last 22 years, being invested with the sacred thread, and after initial training from his mother, Mrs. Kamla Rangan, who is a Balbika's guru, he has been engaged in studying various aspects of Veda, mainly through Swadhyaya. He has been teaching Veda for the last 9 years in Mumbai and is presently the district Veda coordinator for Sri Satya Sai Seva organizations from Mumbai. He has been a regular contributor at Veda Poshna Sadhana Shibir held across Maharashtra over the last few years. Also, he's actively involved in the organization's newly launched Veda e-learning program, that is Sri Satya Sai Samyukta Shruti Shreni, a core member in the content development team. Without taking much time, I hand over to Brother Siddharth Kasturirangan. Sai Ram, brother.
Sairam Sabish, thank you so much. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful. Harihi Om Namah Sabhabhyas Sabhapatibhyascha Vo Namaha. My very, very humble salutations to all the August gathering who have assembled here, and I am extremely thankful to the Sabhapati, the Bhagavan, who has enabled us to take this program to all the corners, everywhere, wherever in the comfort of our home, we are able to share this particular knowledge. And I am very thankful to the Satya Sai Anugraham team for inviting me today, so that whatever little knowledge which I have, I am able to share with you. Sairam, is my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
So today and tomorrow, for 2 days, we will be discussing and learning about Lingashtakam. Lingashtakam means it is an Ashtakam, that is 8 verses which are composed on the Shiva Lingam, that is the Lingam form of Lord Shiva. So before we start about the Lingashtakam, it is important to know what is Shiva Lingam. What does it represent? Shiva Lingam is a symbol. It is a symbol of the Paramatma, the Parabrahma, God, what we call in English with a simple word, God. God exists in 2 aspects. The part which is visible above, and the part which is hidden from us, which we can only experience after great amount of sadhana. So the 2 parts of the Shiva Lingam, upper part which is emerging out of the ground and the lower part which is embedded, they represent nothing but the manifest or visible part of the Jagat which is around us, and the hidden part. So what is this hidden part? Let us try to understand. In the Purusha Suktam, it is mentioned, Sabhumim Vishvato Vrutva Atyatishthad Dashangulam. In literal sense, it is said that after creating the entire universe, there was still some amount of Ishvara Tattva left over. That is, when God created the universe, all the formless state or existence of God did not go into the creation of the universe. Some portion was used to create the universe. The remaining portion, in here it is said Dasha Angulam, means 10 inches. Of course, that is not to be taken literally. What happened to the remaining portion of the Ishvara Tattva? That reverberated through the cosmos in the form of cosmic vibrations, cosmic consciousness. So the world which we see around us is in the form of cosmic energy or Shakti, and the form which is hidden from us but which we can experience through contemplation, that is called Shiva. So Shiva, the all-pervading consciousness, and Shakti, cosmic energy. Both of these together are shown in this picture It is called the Ardhanarishwara Rupa of Lord Shiva. That is, it encompasses both the masculine and feminine. That is one way of looking at it, or the hidden or latent power of the universe and the visible portion of the universe. Both of these things together is what constitutes Parameshwara or Lord Shiva, Samba Parameshwara, and that is embodied in the form of a Shiva Lingam, the hidden part as well as the manifest part or visible or experienceable part. So whatever we see, hear, touch, we are able to experience, all that forms the manifest form of God, and the remaining part is just cosmic consciousness reverberating through the atmosphere. Our ancestors, the rishis, experienced this and gave it the name of Veda. That is why we say that Veda is nothing but God. It is the cosmic consciousness reverberating through the universe. If we contemplate on it long enough, we can experience it. This is the idea. So in the Upanishad, which is known as the Shiva Sankalpa Upanishad, it is mentioned, Ya Vedadishu Gayatri Sarvavyapi Maheshwari Rugyajussamatharvaishchatan me manas Shiva Sankalpamastu. That is, whatever the form of the Vedas, the Gayatri mantra which is present in all the Vedas, all of it is nothing but a form of Samba Parameshwara, Samba Sadashiva. Another very important aspect of Lord Shiva is that Shiva is considered the universal Guru, Dakshinamurti, Guru Dakshinamurti. Guru Dakshinamurti is the Aghora or Shanta form of Lord Shiva, who is seated under a banyan tree and giving discourse on everything and having the demon of ignorance crushed underfoot so that ignorance should not trouble us in our quest to understand the nature of Parabrahman or Ishvara. It is said that Guru Dakshinamurti takes form in every yuga. For example, in the Treta Yuga, he descended in the form of Guru Dattatreya. In the Dwapara Yuga, he came in the form of Rishi Vedavyasa. And in the Kali Yuga, in the form of Sai Baba, to bless us and propel us in the right direction, to give us the blessing of Jnana or understanding, knowledge of the Supreme Parabrahman, the knowledge of God in simple words. This is a basic introduction on the nature of the Shivalinga and what it represents, the formless as well as the form state of Ishvara. With this, let us go forward. Of course, since 8 stanzas are there, today we will be covering the first 4 stanzas of the Lingashtakam. First stanza. Brahmamurari surarchita lingam nirmala bhasita shobhita lingam janmaja dukkha vinashana lingam tat pranamami sada shivalingam. The Lingashtakam, no one knows who is the composer, but it is composed beautifully. There is lot to be learnt, both in terms of stuti, that is just by knowing the names of the Lord, as well as to understand the inner meaning and what is the lesson which the Lingashtakam is teaching us. So, firstly, it is said Brahma Murari Surarchita Lingam, that is the Shiva Lingam which is worshipped by Brahma, Vishnu and all the Devas. Murari is the name for Vishnu. Sura means Deva. So, just to understand this, there is a very nice story which is there. This is regarding the Tiruvannamalai or the Arunachala Lingam. So, allow me to relate this story. Once upon a time, in the dawn of the world, when everything was new, at that time, Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu, they started a debate with each other. What was the context of the debate? They were debating who is superior between the two of them. So both of them started placing their arguments why I am superior to you. And in this way, the argument started to become heated. When the argument reached its peak, at that time, between the two of them from the ground, a pillar of fire emerged. And this pillar of fire, it extended to an infinite extent into the sky, and it extended deep into the earth as well. So from this pillar of fire, a voice came saying that two of you are vying for who is superior. So whoever finds the end or point of origin of this particular flame, that person can be deemed to be superior to the other. Immediately, without losing any time, Lord Brahma transformed himself into a beautiful swan. And this swan gradually in wider and wider circles started ascending, trying to find the upper tip of that flame. At the same time, Lord Vishnu assumed the wild boar form, the Varaha Avatara, and with his tusks, he started digging into the earth and going lower and lower, trying to locate the origin or source of the flame. In this way, both of them proceeded in their own ways. And at a certain stage, in the mind of Lord Brahma, a doubt came. Oh, what to do if Vishnu finds the source first? What if I don't reach the tip by then? So when he saw the tip narrowing slightly, he immediately shouted out, oh, I have found the end of the flame. Of course, that was not the end. The flame was infinite. Immediately at that place, the pillar of fire expanded, and Lord Brahma's wings, these wings of the swan, got burnt. And Lord Brahma came descending downwards and landed at the place where he had started. In the meantime, having heard Lord Brahma's call, Lord Vishnu also ascended upwards and reached that spot at the same time. Both of them resumed they reassumed their original forms. At that time, that flame compressed itself into a Shiva Lingam. That is the origin of the Arunachala Lingam. And from that Lingam, Lord Shiva emerged. This event is called the Lingodbhava. That is the Udbhava or the emergence of Lord Shiva from the Shiva Lingam. And Lord Shiva in physical form appeared before Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu. And he said that the flame was infinite. There was no beginning, there was no end. And because Lord Brahma had violated basic Dharma Shastra, Satyam Vada Dharmanchara, he had told a lie. Very utmost violation of the Dharma Shastra. Therefore, it was ordained that Lord Brahma will not have a single temple anywhere in the Bharatvarsha. That is why there are no temples to Lord Brahma. But this is the origin of how Lord Shiva emanated from a Shivalinga, and that is why he is also worshipped in the form of a Shivalinga. Brahma Murari Surarchita Lingam, Nirmala Bhasita Shobhita Lingam. That is a spotless lingam. Mala in Sanskrit means some kind of tarnishment. So the lingam which is beyond tarnish, so beautiful, perfect. What we say crystal clear, here really crystal clear. Shuddha Sphatika Sankasham Shuddha Vidya Pradayakam. So in the form of a Sphatika Linga, spotless, shining, effulgent, brilliant. There is no number of words which you can use to describe Ishvara. In all his pristine glory, no language in the world can do justice. Neither English nor Sanskrita, the Deva Bhasha itself will fall short. So, how do we understand or how do we worship this Lord Shiva who is so beautiful? Such a wonderful presence. Time permitting, I'll tell you a very nice story on my own experience. But right now, let us move slightly further. The third part of this verse is Janmaja Dukkha Vinashaka Lingam. Janmaja Dukkham means that dukkha, that sorrow, that unhappiness, which is naturally following from birth. That is, as soon as we are born, we have sorrows. Adi Shankaracharya has actually very nicely expressed this sentiment in the Shiva Aparada Kshamapana Stotram. There is a beautiful composition of Adi Shankaracharya in which for every stage of his life, he asks for the forgiveness of Lord Shiva. So Shankaracharya says, Nana rogadi dukkhad rudana paravashaha Shankaram asmarami Kshantavyo me paradha Shiva 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 bho Shri Mahadeva Shambho. What Adi Shankaracharya says that when I was born as a small baby, an infant, Nana rogadi dukkhad rudana paravashaha. Rudana means to cry. Paravashaha means forced, compelled. So why children cry? Because they feel compelled to cry. So helpless, you are stuck inside this body. Your eyes are open. You can see some things. You cannot move properly. The only recourse left to you to express your frustration is to cry. That is why small babies, they cry. It is also said that small babies, very small infants, they remember their Purva Janma and they remember the memories of the Purva Janma slipping out from their mind. So they feel so sad. Oh my God, I am remembering my previous birth, but now everything is slipping out. In a few years, everything is gone. Not in years, few months, everything is gone. So that is what compels that small child to cry. My point is, right from small children, everyone has sorrow, what we call dukkham. What is this dukkham? What is sorrow? Where does it come from? If you try to think, if you try to analyze, dukkham comes from our own inability to accept the circumstances. Basic stem of dukkham is desire. Let me qualify this statement. See, why we feel sad? Because we wanted something to happen in a certain way. It didn't happen. What kind of dukkha we have? Just as an example, I want a particular model of mobile phone. Because of lockdown, it is not delivered in my location. I feel sad. Is this something to feel sad about? You feel sad about the fact that you are not able to understand the principle of Ishvara Tattva. Okay, accepted. But for such small things, we have sorrow, we get angry with each other. Why all these things happen? Because we are not able to accept the things as they are. We have desires, we have expectations. We feel, no, it should be like this only, it should not be like that. Oh, why it happened like this? This kind of logic we use in our day-to-day life. I mean, this is what happens in real life. So let us try to understand this a little better by using the Sanskrit word for the birth, Janma. When we say Janma in Sanskrit, it is very beautiful. There are 3 letters, actually 2.5 letters. Ja in the beginning, Na half letter in the middle, and Ma at the end. What are these 3 letters representing? Ja means Janma, being born. Jananam, to be born. Ma is Maranam, to die. So, what is life? It is nothing but birth, death, and 1 half letter in between. Half letter Na. And that itself gives the hint how to live life. Whenever desire is tempting you, you have to tell Na. No. If you feel next time you have some kind of sorrow, sorrow means not very deep sorrow, day-to-day ordinary sorrows, like you feel bad, hurt, angry about something, try to analyze using this formula. Why am I angry? Is because of dash dash reason. Is it important? Next question. And most of the time the answer will be no. The most important things in life usually go the way which we want them to. Very rarely there is a major setback in life. At that time, accept it. We have to console ourselves. We have to take time to come out from that. but most of the time the na formula works very nicely. So this is just a idea which is expressed here. Janmaja dukkha vinashaka lingam. That sorrow which is janmaja means it is taking janma because I have taken janma. Because I am born, sorrow is also born with me. But why we have to entertain this twin brother, twin sister called sorrow in our life? No need. We can get out from that. That is the lesson here. Pray to God. Have a little bit of faith that, okay, thank you, God. All the things in my life majorly are going the way I want them to. Count your blessings. This is the lesson here. It is not that I pray to Shiva, Shiva will destroy all my dukkha. No. I pray to Shiva for the knowledge that my dukkha is actually non-existent. That is the idea here. Janmaja dukkha vinashaka lingam. Every day I am doing Rudrabhishekam in my home, but I am still having so much sorrow. We get this kind of statements. But in the Rudrabhishekam, are you praying that God give me Viveka Buddhi to distinguish between what is real sorrow and what is my own inability to accept things? That we don't pray. That is the prayer which we need to do. Let me move further. The fourth line is repeated in all 8 stanzas. Tat pranamami sada shiva lingam. Sada shiva. Ever auspicious. Nothing can make Parameshwara change in nature. Always Parameshwara is Shantam, completely meditating, sitting in the Himalayas, not perturbed by anything. That is the state we want to reach. Unperturbed. Sthita prajnata, as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Moving further to the second stanza. Deva muni pravararchita lingam कामदहन करुणाकरलिङ्गं रावणदर्पविनाशनलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्. Devamuni Pravararchitalingam. Highest among the Devas and the Rishis, they worship the Shivalingam. Why? Because the Devas, the Rishis, everyone realizes this is the source. Hiranyagarbha, as it is described in the Rig Veda. Hiranyagarbha Samavartata Agre. The first origin of the universe, the egg from which the cosmos was born, that is called the Hiranyagarbha. That is the supreme principle. The Devas realize it, the Rishis realize it. That is why they worship the Shivalinga. Who are we? We are only ordinary human beings. Even if we get a darshana of a Shivalinga in our entire life, we should count ourselves blessed. That is what is written in the Shastras. Just one vision of the Shivalinga is enough to destroy all your past sins. That is been told about the Shivalinga. So when the Devas, the Rishis, such higher beings, they are worshipping the Shivalinga, definitely it is just an example set for us to worship the Shivalinga. Shivalinga means not literally take a Shivalingam, establish Sthapana in your home and do Abhishekam every day. No. Understand the God principle. Where is God? God is everywhere. Sahasrani sahasrasho ye rudra adhibhumya. In the Rudram 10th Anuvaka, this line comes, 11th Anuvaka. Sahasrani sahasrashaha ye rudra adhibhumyam. This whole world, thousands of miles everywhere, I am only seeing Shiva, 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 Shiva. That is the state we want to attain. Not bring Shivalinga from outside. Bring out the Shivalinga from within and see that that is the same thing which is outside. That is the aim. That is what this line is saying. Deva Muni Pravararchita Lingam. Kamadahana Karunakara Lingam. This line, often it is slight variant is used. It is called Kamadaham Karunakara Lingam. A slight variation in the text. When we say Kamadaham Karunakara Lingam or Kamadahana Karunakara Lingam, the meaning remains essentially the same, but with a small difference. There is a very nice story of Lord Shiva and Kamadeva, how Lord Shiva reduced it, Kamadeva to ashes. Kamadeva is the god of love. What in English we call Cupid, same thing in our mythology, in Hindu mythology. So Kamadeva was reduced to ashes. So Kamadaham, many people interpret that it is referring to that incident. In this case, however, I would like to differ and take a slightly different interpretation. The Puranic story of Kamadeva being reduced to ashes is a very important story from the Brahmanda Purana, where many of the gods request Lord Shiva to bring Kamadeva back to life. And when he is brought back to life, he takes a different form of Bandasura. And then after many generations, Sri Lalita Parameshwari Tripura Sundari, the goddess Adi Parashakti herself, has to take physical form as Lalitambika to destroy Bandasura. This is the content of the Brahmanda Purana. But I am not going and taking this story in that direction. Here, this is a branch of the Vedangas called Nirukta. Nirukta deals with taking the same set of words and trying to find alternative meanings. Here, what is the meaning? Kama Dahana Karunakara Lingam. First meaning, I already told you. The Lord who destroyed Kameshwara by burning him, destroyed Kamadeva by burning. Kameshwara is a different god. Kamadeva, the god of love, by burning him. And who is very compassionate. Karunakara Lingam. But here, the meaning we should take is Kama Dahana Karuna as a single word, and Tat Karoti Tad Lingam. That is the Shivalinga or the Lord Shiva who showers his compassion upon us by burning or destroying our desires. The most compassionate one who destroys our desires. That is the meaning here. This is according to me. Of course, Kamadahana and Karunakara can be interpreted separately also. As I said, this comes under Nirukta, where both possible explanations should be given. They are due, accorded to their due importance. In the Rudram, in the 10th Anuvak, this line comes, Yate Rudra Shiva Tanu Shiva Vishwaha Bheshaji. What does it mean? O Lord Shiva, who is the healer, who is the cure for all the sorrows of the world. See how the Lingashtakam repeats itself, re-emphasizing the same points. And this is not something restricted to Sri Rudram or restricted to our scriptures. In fact, the Holy Quran also mentions this. How I came across is this: if you are living in Bombay and suppose the lockdown lifts at some stage and you are traveling by local train towards Churchgate station, when you cross Charni Road, there is a beautiful hospital on the left-hand side called the Saifi Hospital. If you look at the Saifi Hospital entrance, in very large gold emblazoned letters, it is written, when I fall ill, it is he who cures. This is a verse taken from the Holy Quran. So in every religious or every belief system, this affirmation is there that all we can do is pray. He is the one who heals finally. So when we say Yate Rudra Shiva Tanu Shiva Vishwaha Bheshaji, it is a universal statement. Only God can actually heal. Man can only try to give some compassion, some daya, show some understanding, oblige a little. But it is God who is the main healer always. The picture here depicts Parameshwara drinking up the halahala poison which was emitted from the mouths of Vasuki, the king of serpents, during the Samudra Manthana. When the ocean was being churned, Vasuki's stomach was rubbing against Mount Mandara, and very soon he had some discomfort. He started inadvertently belching out all the poison which was inside, and this poison poisoned the whole world. That is said in the Puranas. And Lord Shiva was requested by all the Devas to save them. And Lord Shiva, see, Parameshwara is benign, calm, serene. He is unequivocal, always behaving the same towards everybody. Someone prays to him, he will come out of the dhyana avastha. He will ask, what is it, my child? They will say, Bhagavan, poison, poison. He said, okay. Collected everything, drank it, went back to Dhyana Avastha. That is the nature of Lord Shiva. Of course, Parvati, Mother Parvati was alert. So she thought if the poison goes down the throat, then poor fellow saved the whole world, himself will become sick. So she quickly clutched at Lord Shiva's throat, and the poison remained there without entering into his body. That is why he is called Neelakantha, one who has a blue throat. That is from the poison which he drank during the Samudra Manthana. That is the story anyway. The idea here is that he is the supreme healer. Prayer is the supreme medicine. God is the supreme healer. Kamadahana Karunakara Lingam. Ravana Darpa Vinashana Lingam. Another beautiful story. This is a story which is not directly occurring in the Valmiki or Tulsi versions of the Ramayana, but it is often narrated when Ramayana is being, the story is being told. So let me narrate this story. When Lord Sri Rama, Prabhu Sri Rama came to the southern coast of India, along with the Vanarasena, Jambavan, Hanuman, Sugriva, everyone was present. At that time, it was decided that this particular site will build the bridge. They identified a site. So before building the bridge, everyone knows that Lord Ravana of Sri Lanka was a very great Shiva Bhakta. So Lord Rama said, let us also pray to Lord Shiva and then start this holy work of building the bridge. So there came a time when they wanted to do the Linga Sthapana at the site which today we know as the temple of Rameshwaram. So when they wanted to do the Sthapana of the Rameshwara Lingam, at that time a question arose. Always when you are doing a holy work, you have to call the Guru or the Purohita, the Pandita, and the Brahmana, and that person will guide you how to do the puja, and then you do it with your own hands. So they said, who is the Acharya, who is the greatest Acharya in this whole region? Who is the greatest Brahmana? And the answer came, the most learned, highest Vidwan in this land is Lord Ravana of Sri Lanka himself. Now, big question. He is the one who has to be finally attacked. And you have to call him only as the Purohita to do the puja. If you don't do that, then you are disrespecting the knowledge which Lord Ravana, as a Brahman, the knowledge which he has acquired. And so you cannot do that. So protocol demanded that Ravana should be invited to do the, or to oversee the Linga Sthapana at the Rameshwara Lingam. So what to do? Lord Rama, omniscient as always, he knew that this is beyond most people's capability, but there was one person who could do this task. Lord Rama quietly called Lord Hanuman. He said, Hanuman, you are the only one who can accomplish this. Please go and return with Lord Ravana of Sri Lanka. He will be the Brahmana who will oversee the Sthapana of this Lingam. Now, task has been given to Lord Hanuman. In the Hanuman Chalisa, it is said, Shankara Suvana Kesari Nandana. The Lord Hanuman is nothing but an amsha or a form of Lord Shiva. So that Shiva Tattva inside Lord Hanuman shone, and he went to Lanka. This is the second visit of Lord Hanuman to Lanka after Lanka Dahana and everything. The scene which is shown in the picture is the just prior to the Lanka Dahana, but second time Lord Hanuman went to the court of Lord Ravana, and he went there and prostrated to Lord Ravana. He said, we need your services as a Purohita. My master, Prabhu Ramachandra, wants to do a holy task, and before that he wants to do the Sthapana of a Shivalingam. So you are the greatest Vidwan, and so we are requesting you, can you please come and oversee the Sthapana of this Lingam. Now Ravana knew that by dharma he was bound to go, because he is a Brahmana by his learning, and so he is duty bound to go and do that particular Sthapana as the Yajamana. Yajamana in this case is Prabhu Sri Rama has requested. However, Ravana was very smart. He was a great strategist. See, the gunas of Lord Ravana were wonderful. He was a great Vidwan. He is credited with having invented music. He is the one who invented the Veena, the musical instrument, the Veena. There are several contributions of Sri Ravana in the Samaveda. Samaveda is a Veda which is, the chanting is done in a musical manner rather than a manner in which the Rigveda or the Yajurveda are chanted. And Ravana was an expert in this. So it was said that when Lord Ravana started singing and playing the Veena, even the Gandharvas and Apsaras from heaven used to come to listen to the song. The students of Dharma Shastras were told that you need not study the books for 20 years. You just get admittance to Ravana's court for one day. And you will learn more about Dharma Shastra from the way he conducts his court rather than what you will learn for 20 years from the books. This was the personality, this was the glorious nature of Ravana. But of course, because of a flaw in character, he fell from grace, and that is why he is not remembered in the history books as a great person, but as a villainous character. But he was great in terms of his achievements. So Ravana, with this background, he told Hanuman, he said, your master, is he married or is he a bachelor? He knew the answer, of course, but he asked this question. Hanuman says he is a married man. Then Lord Ravana said, so ask your master and his wife to be ready and I'll come. Because since he is married, as a dampati, as a couple, they have to do the puja together. Now this is a big conundrum. What is the conundrum here? What is the problem? Mother Sita is captive with Ravana. So she is not there with Prabhu Ramachandra. Hanuman thinks over this. What are the options? I cannot free Mother Sita. I would have done it then itself. But she is waiting that only Prabhu Ramachandra and Prabhu Ramachandra alone should free her from Ravana's captivity. I cannot, of course, request Ravana. Then Hanuman, the inner Shiva, shines through. And Hanuman politely replies to Ravana. Shriman, Lord Ravana, in your Lanka, there are 2 Sitas, not one. That Sita, who is captive in Ashokavatika, and that Sita, who is a resident in your own heart. Because she is a resident in your own heart, that is why you have kept the other Mother Sita captive. So when you come, I request you to bring along that Mother Sita who is in your heart. And you come and do the puja, or you oversee the puja. Come as a Purohita. Ravana Darpa Vinasha. The pride of Ravana broken. Ravana did not think that anyone has a clear understanding of Shastra as he has. This solution had already occurred to Ravana. He never thought that Lord Hanuman will also tell the same solution. So this is how Lord Hanuman defeated the pride of Lord Ravana, and Ravana came and oversaw the sthapana of the Rameshwara Lingam, knowing fully well that once this sthapana is done, then there is nothing to prevent Lord Prabhu Sri Rama to come to Sri Lanka and to ultimately lead to his own downfall. Ravana knew everything, but duty bound, dharmanchara. Dharma Shastra say that you have to stick to your dharma, whatever may be the consequences. This is the story of how the Rameshwara Linga was established and how Ravana was convinced to come as a Purohita and do the sthapana so that no ritual or other lopa or no other omission is there during the puja. Of course, Ravana Darpa Vinasha can refer to various things. For example, the Lanka Dahanam itself can be taken as an example. But I thought this particular story is very interesting, so I shared it here. Next stanza. Sarva Sugandha Sulepita Lingam Buddhi Vivardhana Karana Lingam Siddha Surasura Vandita Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam. The beautiful Shivalinga, smeared completely with the chandana, sandalwood paste. See, if ever you get a chance to be near the sanctum sanctorum in a near a Shivalinga, when the final round of the 11th round of Chandana Abhishekam is being done, just the fragrance of the Chandana which comes from there, that itself inspires such a divine feeling. There is nothing to describe it. It's beautiful. So the Shivalinga, which is beautifully draped or beautifully smeared with the sandalwood paste, as it is shown in this picture, beautiful. It is a wonderful sight to see the Chandana flowing down gradually and covering the entire linga. A beautiful experience. Buddhi Vivardhana Karana Lingam. The Shivalinga, which leads to the growth in our wisdom, spiritual wisdom. Once again, there is a beautiful story behind this. Lord Shiva once appeared to the people of the three worlds, that is the Devas, the Asuras, and the Manushyas, that is the mortal men, like you and me, of course, in olden days. So the Devas were sitting, the Asuras were sitting, the Manushyas were sitting, and Lord Samba Parameshwara was sitting in a meditation pose and gradually, lovingly opened his eyes. Immediately, everyone gave their prostrations, salutations, namaskarams. And then Lord Vishnu, who was the supreme among those present, requested Parameshwara that please give us some discourse. Please teach us something. Dakshinamurti Rupa, please teach us something. Lord Shiva, who had just come out from meditation, he simply said, the, one letter, the only. Okay, only one letter. Huh? Of course, even Lord Shiva even does not need to speak. Dakshinamurti Stotram by Adi Shankaracharya, there is a very beautiful verse. Tishtham vatataror mule vruddha shishya gurur yuva gurostu mauna vyakhyanam shishyastu chinna sanshayah. Guru Dakshinamurti, how is the form? What is the vision of Dakshinamurti? Guru Dakshinamurti sitting under a banyan tree, young, completely serene. A young Guru surrounded by all old Shishyas, all the Rishi Munis with long white beard sitting there, eagerly waiting that Guru will teach us. Vruddha Shishyaha Gurur Yuva. Gurostu Mauna Vyakhyanam. Guru does not utter a single word. Shishyaha tu Chinna Sanshayaha. All the doubts of the Shishyas are automatically eliminated. The Guru does not need to speak. Acharya, this word is used for Guru. Acharya means from the Acharana, from the way the Acharya conducts himself, the Shishya learns more than what he will learn from the speech of the Acharya. That is the true nature of Acharya. So, Lord Samba Parameshwara was requested, please teach us something. He said one letter, the. What is the meaning of this? Each of the three different and men, all three of them interpreted in their own mind what must be this the. Devas interpreted, Bhagavan has said the. Maybe he means Dhamma. Dhamma means to control. Because Devas are used to drinking the Somarasa and enjoying themselves all the time, always music, dance, these things are going on in Devaloka. So please control. Please do not allow your minds to run away like this. Please spend some time in contemplating the divine. Control, Dhamma. That is how the Devas interpreted this one letter, the. Asuras, on the other hand, they interpreted as Daya. Daya, compassion. Why? Because the Asuras were known to be a little cruel, short-tempered, always getting angry and trying to trouble others. So Daya, please be compassionate. Do not let your angry tendencies run away. This was the lesson taken by the Asuras. What about the third category, men, Manushya? They said the Bhagavan has said. Maybe he means dana, to give. Because men are always known, even since those days, to be very miserly. It is mine, I will not give you, this kind of thing. Non-sharing tendency. So, Bhagavan taught a lesson to each of the people of the three worlds with just one letter. That is the glory of Sadashiva. Buddhi Vivardhana Karana Lingam. That Lingam, that Parameshwara, who raises our intellect without having to do any effort from his side, automatically. Who improves our wisdom simply by being present. That is the feeling which one should get in the Sannidhi, in the presence of the Shivalinga. That, oh Lord, please grant me wisdom. Make me a better person by giving me Viveka Buddhi, discrimination. These are the prayers we should make to the Lord. Siddha Sura Asura Vandita Lingam. See, in Marathi, there is a very nice, it is not an abhanga exactly, it is a song, beautiful song called Tala Bole Chippalila. In that, there is a verse. Darbariyale Ranka Anirav Sare Karupa Nahi Bheda Bhav. That is, in the Darbara, in the Sabha of the Lord, the king and the beggar came together. Sare Ekarupa. But anyone who comes to the Sannidhi of the Lord is equal in his eyes. No Bheda Bhavam. We as men have a lot of Bheda Bhavam. That person is like this person is that. For God, nothing like that. All are the same. All are his children. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The entire world is his family. This is the realization which we should have. So even the Siddhas, the Devas, the Asuras, everyone are venerating the Lord. Siddha Purusha. What is a Siddha Purusha? It is said that there are 8 types of Siddhi. Anima Mahima, the ability to grow as small as possible or as large as possible. Laghima Garima. Laghima, the ability to become as light as a feather or lighter than a feather. Garima, the ability to become heavier than the greatest mountain, heaviest of the heavy. Ishitva Vasitva, the ability to control all men and all creatures, the ability to control all inanimate objects. And Prapti Prakamya. These are the 8 Siddhis. Anima, Mahima, Laghima, Garima, Ishitva, Vasitva, Prapti Prakamya. The ability to make things happen the way you wish. And the ability to fulfill all your desires. These are called the 8 Siddhis. The Siddha Purushas who have meditated for infinite number of years, not infinite, but a very, very long periods of time, they achieve these things is what is said. And even though Siddha Purushas having all these abilities, they still worship Parameshwara. Why? Is it because Parameshwara has some ability which they don't have? No, they have the ability to become heavy, light, get others to do whatever you want. Everything will happen the way you want. Prakamya, everything is there. What is not there? That which Parameshwara has. The tendency or the ability to control these tendencies and not use any of these powers. When Bhagavan comes down to earth in an avatara, he restricts himself. See, for Lord Prabhu Ramachandra, he is Bhagavan Vishnu. Sitting in Ayodhya, he will throw the Sudarshana Chakra, it will go cut off Ravana's head and come back. There is no need to go all the way there and all these things. Why did he do it? Because he was restricted by the form he had taken. He has taken the form of a prince of Ayodhya. So he has to conduct his life as a prince of Ayodhya, not as Bhagavan Vishnu, who he actually is. Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. What is difficult for him? Nothing. Why he needs so many people as Sevadal? Not needed. He alone, Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. God has thousands of hands. He does not need us. Then why are we there? Why are we doing Seva? Reason is, he is giving us an opportunity. He has restricted himself for that time period to that physical form. That is the greatness of Sadashiva. the ability to not use abilities which you have. Not necessary means not necessarily having to do everything yourself. Bhagavan created the world. He populated it with animals, plants, human beings. Then he said, let this go by the laws which I have set for the universe. I will not interfere. That is the greatness of God. Coming further, the fourth stanza. Kanaka Mahamani Bhushita Lingam Phanipati Veshtita Shobhita Lingam Dakshasu Yajna Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam. This is a very beautiful verse. Allow me to say a few things about this. The picture which you are seeing, Bhagavan decorated in all his beauty. Kanaka Mahamani Bhushita Lingam. Kanaka means gold. Mahamani means huge sized jewels or gems, precious jewels. Kanaka Mahamani Bhushita. Look at the form of the God, of the Lord. Beautiful. When Rudrabhishekam takes place in a temple or in a public place, after the Abhishekam, various avartanas of Abhishekam with different dravyas is over, normally there is a practice of taking a screen or cloth around the area where the Shivalingam is there, and the decoration is done, the Alankaram is done by the priest without being visible to anybody. And afterwards, when all the Alankaram is done, in the meantime, there is chanting of other suktams or bhajans, etc. are there. When that screen is removed, beautiful darshanam of the Lord. Anyone who has seen Rudrabhishekam will know this experience, that you are just watching, your attention is wavering. This is a natural human tendency. You are watching here, there. But when that screen is removed and when the Lord is presented to everyone, everyone's attention is on the Lord. The beauty, someone is looking at the silk cloth, someone is looking at the gold ornament, someone is looking at the Tripundra mark on his on the Shivalinga, someone is looking at the third eye, someone is looking at the Rudrakshamala, someone is looking at the lamp, someone is looking at the Phani, the snake, the Adishesha Naga which is there. But all attention is on the different abhushanas, the ornaments of the Lord and the Lord himself. Kanaka Mahamani Bhushita Lingam. It is a description of how beautiful the Lord looks when he gives a darshanam after an Abhishekam is over and when all the Alankaram is done. But when we meditate on Lord Shiva in our mind, for example, when Rudram is chanted, before that the Lagunyasam is chanted many times. In the Lagunyasam initial Dhyana Shlokam, Nilagrivam Shashankankam Naga Yajñopavitinam Vyagracharmottariyancha Varenyamabhaya Pradam. Beautiful description of the Lord. Nilagrivam, blue-throated one, as we already discussed. Shashankankam, one who is having the crescent moon embedded in his forehead. Naga Yajñopavitinam, just as the Brahmanas wear the sacred thread and are never parted from it, the Lord wears a snake around himself. Vyaghra Charma Uttariyam, a tunic, a dress which is made from the skin of a tiger. Varenyam, the Supreme Lord. Abhaya Pradam, one who is always giving blessings in the form of the Abhaya Hasta, that is the upright palm pose, which denotes Abhaya. In the past days, open hand was shown so that to show that I am not carrying any weapons. That is why this is called the Abhaya Mudra or Abhaya Hasta. Of course, the Lord gives blessings in this way. This is the form which comes in the mind. Nilagrevam Shashankankam Naga Yajñopavitinam Vyaghra charma uttariyancha varenyam abhayapradam. Kamandalo akshasutrabhyam dharinam shulapaninam. That is one who is wearing the Rudraksha mala and having the Trishula with him. This is the form. Now, on this form of Lord Shiva, giving darshana in this form, there is no gold, there is no jewels. But what is the need? Bhagavan in this form is so beautiful. We will only be tarnishing it by putting gold and jewels and all these things. What is the idea here? Bhagavan is described, Ishvara Tattva is described by Shankaracharya in the Hastamalaka Stotram, which is one of the compositions of Adi Shankaracharya. Samasteshu vastushvanusyutamekam samastani vastuni yannasprishanti. That which is untouched by anything. That is Ishvara Tattva. So, Bhagavan does not require any ornaments. In fact, the ornaments become beautiful because you are putting them on Bhagavan. The Shivalinga by itself, when the Abhishekam is done, is already beautiful. By putting ornaments, the ornaments will gain beauty because they are put on the Lingam. That is the idea. The Abharana itself becomes Abhushita because the Lord is wearing them. The third line is Daksha Suyajna Vinashana Lingam. This is a very nice story which is told in various Puranas, including the Bhagavata Purana, of the great Yajna of Daksha. So allow me to tell you this story, and I will conclude at the end of that for today's session. Prajapati Daksha or Daksha Prajapati was a son of Lord Brahma, and he was himself a Prajapati, which means that he was also a part of the creation of the world. Daksha Prajapati had a beautiful daughter, his favorite daughter, by name Sati. Sati, in her childhood, was brought up in the household of Daksha Prajapati, and always Shiva Puja was going on in the household. So she grew up as an ardent devotee of Shiva. When she came of age to get married, she could not think of anything else other than getting married to Lord Shiva himself. Everyone tried to convince her, Lord Shiva lives in Kailasha, he doesn't wander here and there, you will not be able to find him, you will not be able to marry him, please get married in a suitable household as per your father's wishes. But Sati said, no, I will not accept any husband other than Lord Shiva. She undertook great tapasya, continuously doing Abhisheka to the Shivalingam. She did Upavasa, that is complete fasting. At one stage, she used to eat only one leaf per day. That was her meal for the whole day. After some days, when Lord Shiva did not appear, she even stopped eating that one leaf. That is why Sati Devi is also called Aparna. Aparna means one who is not even eating one leaf. That is how the name Aparna came. She is called Aparna also. So when she was in this avastha without eating anything, at that time, the Lord, being so compassionate as he is, appeared before her and agreed to get married to her. So against the wishes of Daksha Prajapati, Sati Devi and Lord Shiva were married, and they started living in Mount Kailasa together. Daksha Prajapati already had a poor impression of Lord Shiva because he says this is a beggar who goes around smearing the crematorium ashes on his body. I don't know why my daughter got married to him, and so on. This is a very normal thing which can happen, and that is what happened. In addition, there was a misunderstanding where Daksha Prajapati thought that Lord Shiva had insulted him in some way. I will not go into the details. But when Daksha once decided to have a great yajna, at that time, he invited all the Brahmanas from the whole world. Everyone was invited for the yajna. Only Sati Devi and Lord Shiva were not invited. This was because of the misunderstanding in Prajapati Daksha's mind. Sati Devi, when she came to know that everyone is going, because they were passing by Mount Kailasa when they were going to the Yajna. So she said to Lord Shiva, see, everyone is going wearing such nice clothes and jewelry. I'll also get a chance if we go. I'll also wear those things. I'll meet my sisters. I'll meet my mother. I'll meet my father, my brothers. So please let us also go. Lord Shiva, being all-knowing, told her, let us not do this because it will lead to some trouble. But Sati Devi was not convinced, and the attraction of meeting her family again and being bedecked and bejeweled in nice clothes and jewelry, it was too much of an attraction for her. So she insisted that no, I want to go. Parameshwara said, you can go, I will not, but I will ask some of the Rudraganas to escort you till the Yajnasthala. And so Sati Devi arrived at the Yajnasthala, escorted by the Rudraganas. Once she reached the Yajnasthala, she saw that all the Homa and Yajna, etc. were going on. And wherever in the Vedas there are some verses dedicated to Rudra Shiva, those verses were being omitted and the Pandits were going further. Sati Devi tried to point this out to Daksha Prajapati. At that point of time, Daksha Prajapati lost his temper and he told her that your husband has insulted me, he is a useless fellow, things like that. Means he started cursing Lord Shiva in a very loud voice so that everyone could hear. Sati Devi initially tried to reason with Daksha Prajapati, but at a certain stage, she realized that my father is not the one who is speaking. It is not Daksha Prajapati, but an ego, a personal ego, which is speaking through him, which is not realizing that Parameshwara is nothing but the origin of the entire universe. What happens if you don't give him part of the Vedic sacrifice? He is the sacrifice, he is the doer. Harir Dhata, Harir Bhokta, Harir Annam Prajapati. Hari Vipra Sharirastu Bhokte Bhojayate Harihi. Everything is the Lord. There is nothing separate than him. So all these petty things like not giving part of the offerings, etc. has no meaning. She realized this. She also realized that Daksha Prajapati does not know this, or it is his ego which is speaking. At that point, knowing that her father is close to God, Pitru Devo Bhava, she realized that the idol which she had in her mind all the time is obscured. And that was very hurtful to her heart. And so through her own yogic powers, the anger which she felt, the indignation that why my father, the God, is allowing his ego to surface, that anger came out in the form of a flame and her body burst into a flame. Before the body burned through, she cursed Daksha Prajapati that you are ignorant, you will be killed by Lord Shiva. And then in her final breath, she meditated on the feet of Lord Shiva, said that in my next Janma, may I be born to a father who appreciates the qualities of the Lord. And with that, the Shakti Tattva which was there in the body of Sati Devi, it merged in the universe and the charred body of Sati Devi fell to the ground. This was the tragedy of Sati. When Lord Shiva came to know about this, he was very angry. He plucked out one single hair from his head. All his anger was concentrated in that single hair. He threw it upon the ground. And from that hair emerged a very, very angry and fierce form called Veerabhadra. And this Veerabhadra Rupa, Lord Shiva dispatched Veerabhadra with the Rudraganas to the Yajnasthala of Daksha. And Veerabhadra and Rudraganas descended upon the Yajnasthala and decimated everything. In this scene, you can see Veerabhadra offering Daksha himself. Daksha, the great Prajapati, the son of Brahma, being offered as a sacrificial animal by Veerabhadra. What is the point of this story? The point of this story is the nature of God is not ritual, it is spiritual. If we are going to do yajna, homa, puja, it should not be merely ritualistic. We have to understand the spiritual significance. Even in the Taittiriya Upanishad, it is mentioned. Bhuriti varchaha bhuva iti samani suvariti yajugumshi maha iti brahma brahmana bhava sarve veda mahiyante. What does it mean? Bhu, bhuva, suva. These are the three words. If bhu represents Rigveda, bhuva represents Samaveda, and suva represents Yajurveda, then the thing which gives greatness to all these three Veda, that is the Brahma Tattva. If you do not concentrate on God, there is no point in reading the three Vedas. You may know it by heart, you will still be where you started before knowing the Vedas. The underlying principle is God. That is the lesson which the Lingashtakam gives us. That let me not merely be ritualistic, but be spiritual. Understand the inner meaning. Why am I praying? To improve myself, to get rid of my 6 enemies, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. It is not for monetary gain. Those things are trivial. Here, there, today, gone tomorrow. When God is there to give you Brahma Vidya, why ask him for something trivial? No point. That is the lesson which the Lingashtakam gives us. I think I have overshot my time, but I will stop here and I hand over to the organizers. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, brother, thank you very much. We'll move to the question answer session for today's evening. Somebody has requested, like, if you can explain, like, Swami's words or any incident, or any story with respect to Lingashtakam.
I have it in tomorrow's session already. So I think if we can hold till then, that would be fulfilled.
No problem, no problem. So, is there any like particular procedure or like something like the times, how many times that we have to chant Lingashtakam?
I will give a very personal answer to this. In my personal opinion or my personal view, prayer is something which is very intimate between the Bhakta and Bhagavan. So whenever we find the time, whenever we are able to, we should chant. There is no specific time as such. Normally, the traditional way is the Brahma Muhurta in the morning and the evening. That is around 3 a.m. to 8. It differs from, if you ask different people, they'll give you different. But 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. around that time. Similarly, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Those periods are particularly auspicious because at that time, the vibrations are most conducive for prayer. But in my personal opinion, there is no specific time. At any given time, one can pray. That is my answer.
Thank you. And one of the viewers have requested, like, if there is any phase or like direction to place Shivlinga during the Lingashtakam recitation.
The Shivalinga, as it is already the Sthapana is done, the yoni should be such that the channel of the yoni should be always pointing. I am figuring out from how I do it at home. North. That is the only, as such, only criteria. But otherwise, it is normally advised that one should be facing east while doing the puja. But this is as per the local convenience. For example, in everyone's house, there may not be a suitable location facing east or west. So that can be done as per convenience. That would be my answer.
So during your explanation, you mentioned about the curse given to Lord Brahma. Like there's
Yes.
no temple, but like there is one temple at that
Yeah,
is
there is a
Pushkar in
temple at
Rajasthan. So
Pushkar.
any kind of
Yeah.
story to that?
Uh, okay, I am not sure, but in all of Puranic literature, you will find various stories dotted around. Many times they will intersect, and various times they will contradict also. So Puranas are, it is considered as a history, and history there can be various versions depending on who is narrating to whom. So this is one story which is there in the Shiva Purana, but the versions can vary.
And there was one more thing like whether the pradakshina of lingam can be done or not. So, and also like I would like to add one more this into this, like the reason why the Ardha Pradakshina is done.
Okay, I'll answer it in two parts. I have seen people who are extremely rigid on both sides. That some people say, if you go in a pradakshina manner, you are not supposed to move up pradakshina, that is in the anti-clockwise direction ever, in the sannidhi of any devata. So such people who are believers in that will make the Purna Pradakshina even crossing the channel. Whereas those who believe in the Ardha Pradakshina, they will make a 3/4 Pradakshina or whatever permits in that particular temple and return by the path which they came. Regarding the origin of this practice, I am not sure at all. It is means I do not have knowledge of that. I'm sorry.
Okay. So there was one more this thing like some couple of them asked whether it is like Shiva Sankalpa hymn or the Upanishad.
It is also considered as an Upanishad. It is called the Shiva Sankalpa Upanishad. It is a Veda mantra, definitely. It is it has to be chanted in a particular manner only. It is always better that it is learnt from someone who knows how to chant, or it is learnt by listening to regular chanters chant. It is not a normal hymn, for example, like Lingashtakam. It's a Vedic hymn.
Okay. So thank you so much, Brother Siddharth. We will meet again tomorrow the same timing. And yes, there are requests from people like if we can sing also. So today, like I doubt like with respect to the time, like we won't be able to. But yes, tomorrow we will try to like if you can. So I request for the closing prayers, please.
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्
श्रीनारायण तु पुरुषोत्तम गुरुतु सिद्धबुद्ध तु स्कन्दविनायक सविता पावक तु सविता पावक तु ब्रह्ममस्तु यह्वशक्ति तु येषु पिता प्रभुतु रुद्रविष्णु तु रामकृष्ण तु रहीमता पिताओतु वासुदेव गोविश्वरूपतु चिदानन्द हरितु अद्वितीयतु अकालनिर्भय आत्मलिङ्ग शिवतु आत्मलिङ्ग शिवतु आत्मलिङ्ग शिवतु
समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।